shadow work is a term that was coined by Carl Jung, who's such a great philosopher. And basically, the shadow is our unconscious. So that's why it's known as the shadow, because we're not very conscious of it. It's something that is sort of dark and we can't see it very clearly. We're probably unaware of it. So it's known as the shadow. But our conscious mind is the light, it's the awareness. So shadow work is basically when you dive deep into your unconscious mind, your unconscious self, to kind of see what might be blocking you in your mind, because 80% of success, 80% of any success in this world is your mindset. Your mind has such a big influence on your life, right? And we might have certain programs that are influencing us subconsciously, like certain programs that when we were raised, maybe our parents told us like money is really hard to get, or maybe we were told that abundance is something you have to work so hard for, or maybe you learned that money, you have to be born into it if you're going to have it, or there's all these different types of programs or beliefs that we may have that we might be unconscious of. Sometimes we're not even conscious of what we actually believe, and sometimes we also have other unconscious things such as fears that hold us back from our ultimate potential and our ultimate success. So shadow work is when we dive into what those things are, we dive into what our unconscious programs are, we dive into what our unconscious fears are, and all of these other different things that are going on in our mind unconsciously, and we start to dig them up so that we can bring awareness to them. And with that awareness, we can then begin to change them so that we can start to shift ourselves to become the person that we really, really want to be. So where we can change our identity to one that supports the life that we want. And with shifting those things, you would be so surprised at how fast you can manifest your dreams once you start uncovering some of those more unconscious things and shifting them into belief systems and programs that support what you really want. Once you start shifting all those belief systems, your life will begin to change faster than you could even realize.
Absolutely, it will. Actually, like when I started doing this, it like actually scared me. It actually scared me how quickly things were moving, because I was like, holy shit, like that's it. It actually can be this easy. Like if I just get to the bottom of what beliefs are driving my behavior. And so let's start with how do we start to identify what's in the shadow? Like how do we start to identify what those beliefs are?
So the first step would be reflection on what are certain patterns that you have in your life, what is currently maybe stopping you from going after what you really want. So reflect on that and start to ask yourself, why am I not taking action towards my dreams? What are my belief systems around this? What do I believe about money? What do I believe about abundance? What do I believe about my dream career? What do I believe about myself? Do I believe that I'm worthy of this? Do I believe that I'm capable, or do I not? And then also begin to ask yourself, do I have any fears around this? Is there something that's scaring me from taking this first step? Like maybe we're scared of failure. Maybe we're scared of the thoughts or judgments of other people. Maybe we're scared of rejection. Maybe we're scared of, a myriad of different things. So as you begin to reflect and ask yourself these deeper questions, write them down, see what kind of comes up, and realize that maybe your first answer, maybe there's more depth to whatever your first answer is. So maybe you're thinking about this and you're like, oh, well, I've kind of always been told that money's really hard. And then you might be thinking, well, it's because I've had all these experiences. I have all these experiences that prove to me that money's hard to get. But the thing is all of these are actually belief systems, because not every single person has the same experience. There's some people that money is really easy for them. There's some people where it's really easy for them to take the first step. Why is that? It's not necessarily for the reasons that we might think. So we might currently have all these justifications and all these different reasons in our head why certain things are easy for other people and why it's not easy for us. We might have started making certain stories. And this is where you can start to break apart the story that you currently have, right? So every single experience that we have, it might be validating a current belief system, but when we start to dive into it, this is where we can break that belief system apart. And this all comes from realizing that all of these things are belief systems. There's people that have come from, really horrible situations where maybe it was so hard for them to make money. Maybe they grew up very poor, or maybe they had really bad luck in love or all these different things. And they create success regardless. They create abundance regardless. So there's examples of that. What makes you any different, right? You are so capable of doing anything that you want, but it comes down to believing yourself, creating a different story, and also creating a new identity, because sometimes we also identify as a certain person because of our old habits, our old belief systems, and how we currently view ourselves. You might view yourself as someone that is really lazy, even though you might not be. A simple shift in your identity can actually make you a very productive person. And this is something that, I used to think of myself as a lazy person. I used to think like, oh, it's really hard for me to get motivated on different things. And when I started getting into this when I was really young, my mom was like, no, you can be really motivated. You can be really productive, but it's how you view yourself. It's how you think about yourself. And so I started changing my story when I was really young, and I started saying, you know what? No, I can do things. I can be self-taught in teaching myself how to do audio engineering. And eventually I, actually went to audio engineering school and all that. But I started teaching myself like software, like DAWs, they're called DAWs, digital audio workstations. I started teaching myself how to use those when I was like 12 years old.
Wow.
So there's so much more that you could be capable of. It's just shifting your mindset of how you view yourself, how you think about yourself, and shifting the stories that you have around yourself in your life.